Hey everybody, we are live. Welcome to another edition of Boston Straight Shooters. I'm your host for the evening, Steve, aka Negative Ned. Frank is away on business, so I'll do my best to hold down the fort and get you guys all caught up in the goings on in Boston sports. This is the show where we talk about the Patriots, the Bruins, the Celtics, and the Red Sox. And at the beginning of the show tonight, I'm going to do something a little bit different. Give me a half a second to post a link so you guys can join the show. This week, in a short period, we've had a number of celebrity deaths, and I want to take a moment to acknowledge them because it's pretty sad, and it's not good. It's not good to see this going on here. So let me start with let's start at the beginning with Malcolm Jamal Warner from Theo Huxtable from The Cosby Show. Died tragically in a rip current while he was on vacation. I don't know all the specific details, but I kind of heard something earlier that he was trying to save one of his daughters. So, truly sad, heartbreaking for his family. Hey, Danny, I see you. Thanks for joining. Next, yesterday we had Ozzy Osbourne passed away at the age of 76. He's had Parkinson's for the last few years, and he just finished a concert and fought his way through it, like a month or two ago. And that guy, obviously, who he is, lived a hard life, and I don't think many people are expecting him to be around at 76. So, Prince of Darkness, their music and his music, I can tell you as a Patriots fan, the Crazy Train song when the players come out at the beginning of the games, that's kind of a thing. Every time I hear that now on the radio, and I've been hearing it, I think of Patriots immediately. So, and everybody knows about the reality show that he had with his family and whatnot. Funny guy. The stuff coming out of his mouth, but sad to hear about him going. And today, this afternoon, if you're a wrestling fan like me, Hulk Hogan passed away at the age of 71, and I saw that it was cardiac arrest. So the wrestlers, they live a hard life. Many of them don't make 71, but that still just seems young. It just feels young. So, we're talking about, one of the greatest wrestlers of all time, if not the greatest. You got an argument between him and Stone Cold Steve Austin. There's a slew of guys, Andre the Giant and so forth. He's obviously among them. He put wrestling really on the map in the 80s when I was a kid. And, I know he did some movies. I know he was in one of the Rocky movies. I forget which one. I think it was Rocky 3, but I'm drawing a blank. But, Hulkamania is running wild. And now it's running wild upstairs. And so as I have been known to do on here every once in a while, we're gonna do a salute to all those that have passed this week. So R.I.P. gentlemen, rest in peace. And let's move on with the show now. I'm going to start with the Celtics because there's interesting rumor going around. But before I get to that, I do want to talk about the Summer League. I did get to watch a little bit of the games, and they got some decent young talent. Uh, although I'm a little disappointed with the way Shireman played. He's the draft pick from last year. That's supposed to be the sharpshooter guy. That's kind of supposed to take over for Sam Hauser. He had a disappointing camp, in my opinion. I saw some of the bricks he was throwing up, and I'm not too happy with what I saw. But again, it's a summer league. It's early. You got training camp coming up. They play with. You watch the games. It looks almost like street ball. Uh, the talent is not. They're not playing. The NBA players to an extent, but it's not like they're playing the top guys. Everybody's putting all their young guys in there. So hopefully he'll get better. Again, I mentioned these guys last week. I really liked Charles Bassey, what I saw out of him, but I don't think he was around for the last game. And if he was, he didn't play. So I don't know what his status is. I know he was signed with the Clippers, I think, before. So that's a guy I would be curious to see if they could do like a G League contract for him. And Kenny Lofton, the 6'6", 275 guy, was playing in China last year. I liked him. I said this last week. He reminded me a lot like Charles Barkley. Just a load. Again, I understand these guys are like low. He'd be like 10th, 12th guy probably. But that's a guy I'd be intrigued by to see him get a shot. I do know that the Celtics, they finished 4-1 in the summer league, and they were 8th in scoring. They were 2nd in points allowed, and they were tied for 2nd in point differential. And again, take it with a grain of salt for what it's worth. But, to me, that says that, the coaching, whoever the coach is, did a pretty good job. And, the players did overall a pretty good job. So we got training camp coming. I want to say in September, so it's going to be pretty quiet, other than the rumors and the free agent noise going around. Let me get to the rumor going around about Ben Simmons, who's a free agent, and the Celtics are one of a handful of teams rumored to be interested in him. Why, I have no idea. The little bit I know about him, he can't stay healthy. And, without actually looking at it before, because I didn't know him, he's 6'10", 240, and he's playing point guard. And to me, that guy should be playing center, not point guard. But, he's got talent, obviously. I mean, we're talking about, he's been an all-star 3 times. He's all defensive first team, in 2020 and 2021. So he's pretty good defensively. He was the steals leader in 2020. But the Nets bought him out, and his salary with the Nets was $39 million. So if they bought him out, that must tell you something about him, and why they would want to move on from him. And he ended up signing with the Clippers for like a little over $1 million for the rest of the season. His numbers last year, not that good. Last year with the Nets, he averaged 6 points and nearly 7 assists a game. And with the Clippers, he played 18 games after the buyout. He averaged 3 points, 4 rebounds, 3 assists. I mean, that's useless numbers. I mean, after the 2021 season, he only appeared in 57 of a possible 226 regular season games due to injury. Since his last All-Star season in 2020, 2021. He missed the entire 21-22 season with a back injury. It trickled into the next season when he only played 42 games. And last year, 2024, he was shut down at some point. I think he only played 15 games. So, I mean, this guy's brittle. And anybody that has a back injury, it's not a good sign. I mean, We just got rid of Porzingis, who's kind of brittle. I don't see what value this guy's going to add, and how much is it going to cost to sign him. For $1 million, maybe, I guess you could take a shot on him. But if it's any more than that, if we're talking like mid-level exception, whatever that number is, I don't have NBA numbers contracts in front of me to look at it. But there could be like a $5 million mid-level exception or 10 million, whatever that number is. No, you could use that, save that money, put it somewhere else. I mean, I know they're talking about possibly trading Simons, who they got in a deal, who's making $27 million. I mean, that makes more sense if you can get a big man back, which is what they were looking at doing. I still don't know if that's on the table or not. I mean, there's a lot of time left. Things can happen. I would rather see that. Ben Simmons does nothing for me. Not to mention, you already have guys that can bring the ball up the court, and you'd be eating into Peyton Pritchard's minutes. I know it's yet to be seen if he can be a full-time starter, but when he's in there, he's energetic. He's good defensively. He's a bulldog. Doesn't back down. Obviously the threes. He's a sharpshooter. I'd kind of like to see him get a shot to play with Derek White in the backcourt, see what that looks like. And then you're looking at giving some of the younger guys like Jordan Walsh a shot to get in the mix somewhere. I know Jaylen Brown can play point guard. It's not ideal from my perspective to have him playing point guard, bring the ball up. But if you put him at point guard with Derek White and had Jordan Walsh up at forward for a spell here and there, maybe. I mean, I'm just, again, I don't know it like Frank, but, from the little bit I know, they're going to do rotations and whatnot. Some of the a guy like Jordan Walsh is probably entering his third year now. He's got to get some more minutes. Shyman's got to get some more minutes. You got Sam Hauser still in the mix. I mean, Ben Simmons makes absolutely no sense to me. So my hope is that they don't bother with him. All right, watching the time. Let's switch gears. We're going to move on to the Patriots. The Patriots have finally started training camp. They've had 2 days worth of training camp. So far, so good, I guess, right? It's early. There's a lot going on. There's a lot to discuss. That the players are getting their feet wet with everybody. So some of the things that I've heard and read is that the offensive line still remains the number one concern. That's not a surprise. At least it shouldn't be from around here, considering how bad they were last year. In the drills, it said that May had to deal with pressure at times, particularly off the edge. Again, you're going up against veteran guys. Keon White's been here for 3 years now. Mitchell, the kid they signed, has been in the league for a number of years, and I don't think he's an edge guy, but still. The defense is supposed to be ahead of the offense at this stage. If you want to circle back to Tom Brady's early years, 2002, 2003, when they won those Super Bowls, whatever, 2004, I would say 2002, 2003, the defense really carried them. They were ahead while Tom Brady learned the offense. The group that was there, and I'm not going to get into all the names because if you're a Patriots fan, you already know who they are. They were ahead of the offense. I mean, that's kind of where we are now. Drake May's in his second year. The offensive line is being rebuilt. And so, I expect them to be ahead. I expect the Patriots to be a top 10 defense. I know Frank keeps saying top 3. I'm going to back the truck up a little bit there and give them top 10, but much improved from last year. And so when you have the guys that we have, even the new guys, they're all veteran guys. They're all, 5, 6, 7 year guys. And you're going up against, Will Campbell's a rookie. They have, even though Cole Strange missed a chunk of the year last year, they have Bradbury, who they got from Minnesota. They signed as a free agent. And you have I had the kid's name here. I'll get it in a minute. The kid they drafted at center out of Georgia. You got new pieces going on. You got Moses. I think it's Moses Brown, the right tackle. They signed from the Jets. Uh, the one thing that we have talked about and are going to continue to talk about is the five guys on that offensive line. That unit has to be cohesive. Last year, they never could get it. They just had too many moving parts. You got to get five solid guys, and hopefully nobody gets hurt, and those guys are cohesive. That's what you need. But going back to the positives, one of the things that was said is the QB Drake May impressed with his ability to stand in the pocket, deliver the ball. He and his receivers had good results. May completed 2 passes to Stephon Diggs and threaded the needle to tight end Hunter Henry through bracket coverage. Rookie wide receiver Kyle Williams made catches on consecutive plays in 11-on-11. The second one was against cornerback Christian Gonzalez, and that was like the highlight of yesterday's camp. So, that's encouraging that, they actually were able to do something positively as far as throwing the ball and, these guys getting open. Huge knock last year, obviously. The wide receivers couldn't get open. Part of the reason they couldn't get open was because of the offensive line, but this group is a better group. Should be a better group. And, having Stephon Diggs makes a big difference. So it's encouraging, that he's actually out there, considering the ACL injury that he suffered. And if there's any way they can get him in week 1, that'd be fantastic. So that's all encouraging. Yesterday, May completed 8 of 9 in the 11-on-11. It says 4 of those completions came with clear pressure off the edge. Some reporters listed them as sacks, quote unquote. So, they're saying, hey, in a real game, he wouldn't have as much time to get rid of the ball. He'd probably either have to eat it or throw it away. But again, I don't even know if they had pads on yesterday. You got to take everything with a grain of salt. They're just starting out. There was one where, at least one play where Keon White blew past Will Campbell for a sack. Again, to be expected. You got 2 things going on there. 1, Will Campbell's a rookie. And 2, Keon White is probably going to be used differently, much differently than he was his first couple of years here with Gerard Mayo and Bill Belichick as the coach. The defense with the new coaching, the new coordinator and so forth, and Mike Vrabel, he's going to be more aggressive coming off the edge, which is what you get him for in the first place. And we talked about this last year about him. Almost sounded like he wanted to leave. And that's not a guy you want to have leave and go somewhere else and be a double-digit sack guy. So I say kudos to the Patriots for hopefully figuring out the best way to use him and get the most out of him. There was a quote from Drake May yesterday. I forget what the question was that they asked him, but he said that, I think a lot of guys around here are tired. I think you got a lot of guys around here that are tired of losing. He's spot on. They've had, bad, 4-win seasons the last 2 years. So I'm sure that they're tired of losing. So, everything from that standpoint, look, they got to improve. We've been talking about it. I say they're in the 8-9 win category. Frank says 12 based on their schedule. But just the way the camp sounds with Mike Vrabel running it just sounds more, I don't want to say like Parcells and Belichick, but just more professional. And this is not a knock on Gerard Mayo because it was his first go around. And he really got put in an unfair spot. So, this is Vrabel's second go around, second team. You'll hopefully always learn from your mistakes and improve. And so I just think that everything that you see, hear, and read, whatever, just feels like the camp is more professional and more like what we're used to. And I heard something where might have been Brandon Schooler made a comment and said, "Hey, look, it's not like we're scared to death of Mike, but we know he means business." And that's what you want. There's consequences for failure. I think last year, a bunch of times, you know, all around here as Patriots fans, and Frank and I also probably addressed, like, Stevenson was fumbling the ball left and right, but he kept getting put in the games, and they didn't sit him or anything. And so, I think that Vrabel brings back a little more of that accountability. Be like, hey, if you're going to keep fumbling, you ain't playing, type of thing. Same thing with any position. I think that the best guys are going to play, and you have competition everywhere, and everything will line itself out. So, let's talk about day 2 a little bit. From what I saw here, it says they had a bit more conservative day, with the offense primarily focusing on completing short and intermediate throws. Looks like the offensive line had some one-on-one drills early in the practice. 3 guys, I don't have their names here because I didn't catch them, but each guy had a one-on-one with a defensive guy, and they didn't fare too well. So again, everybody's new, everybody's competing. So it's part of the process, I guess. I can already hear the sports radio guys going, "Oh my God, these guys are getting killed already, and they can't handle the one-on-one drills. What are they going to look like?" Back the truck up, slow down. It's day 2. No one's going crazy yet, right? It's part of the process for their improvement. And if this is like, after 2 weeks of training camp and 2 weeks or even 3 weeks of the preseason, and you're seeing that still, okay, that's an issue. But I don't expect that to be the case. I think that they're going to get much better coaching, and it's going to help. It's going to help them. I think the offensive line should be much improved from last year. Are they going to be a top 10 offensive line? Probably not. But can they go from like 30-something to like, I don't know, 15, 16, 18? Can they get to that level and have more impact than they had last year? Because, my projection for them this year is they should be averaging anywhere between 20 and 24 points a game minimum. We shouldn't be seeing any more 13, averaging 13 a game, getting these 10-6 games and so on and so forth. We've mentioned it a dozen times. We're going to keep mentioning it because that's part of getting improved play from everybody. Jared Wilson, he's the guy. I drew a blank on Jared Wilson. He's the center. He took first team reps at both center and left guard. So there's a guy that's and I think this is a staple of what Belichick did here is you would have guys that could fill in multiple spots in case of injury. They do need that depth. So that's encouraging for a rookie. I don't know if he's going to be the starter at center, but let's say Cole Strange went down and he's getting these reps at left guard, then you have a plug and play kind of instead of some of the bums we had here last year. And I think those bums are still here too, by the way. So, I just, again, don't want to go cuckoo over it, but I kind of like hearing that, there's a guy like that that's going to get a shot. Caden Wallace was here last year. I think he played tackle last year, whatever. He was awful, but he's been getting reps at guard. So that's a move. Again, this is like, they drafted him as a guard, put him at tackle stupidly, and maybe now he's going back to his natural position and he'll be better. That's one thing that really aggravated me last year, watching these guys playing out of their position and getting steamrolled and half the time looking like a freaking orange pylon. you got to use the guys where their strengths are. Demontre Jacobs looks like the top backup tackle. Good. I think in spurts he played okay. I mean, he got beat a lot too, but I just think that the whole thing was just such a mess that they were disadvantaged. Those guys. So we'll see. I think Drake May completed 14 of 15 today. He completed 8 of 9 yesterday. I mean, that's good. You have to think that the offensive line, again, with no pads or no whatever, no real understanding of how hard they're going after the quarterback, you have to think that the line is obviously giving him enough time to get the ball out, and the receivers are getting open, and that's good. That's good news. They're gonna they're gonna get better. They should get better. You're not gonna have Drake May's not gonna be throwing 14 for 15 every week either. But going against good players in defense, even in practice, if you read or hear any of the stories from the Patriots when Brady would go up against Ty Law or Lawyer Malloy in practice, and they used to battle it out, and Tom Brady would get pissed off if he threw a pick against those guys, and those guys would rub it in against him and stuff, and it's all part of the competition, and it's all part of preparing for the next level, so you can beat teams and win. So, and one thing we touched on too, because I know we touched on it a few weeks ago, is when Drake May and the receivers went down to North Carolina and all, did a little practice session down there together. Again, more cohesiveness, some camaraderie, and Stephon Diggs talked about it, and he said, it's probably less about the the execution and whatnot. It's more about the trust, and so you're building trust with each other, and that's a very important factor when you get to the games, obviously. But they just listen. I just think it's encouraging that, and I don't know who organized it. I don't care who organized it. I just like the fact that Drake May, and those guys all got together, because I don't think that happened last year. I don't think it happened under Mac Jones when he was here. I know that Tom Brady did with like Edelman, Gronk, and Danny Amendola. Those guys would go out and like throw or whatever. But I think getting Diggs, I think getting him and having him healthy at the start of the year, and even if he's not healthy, let's say he has to sit out the first 4 weeks, right? If they have to put him on, the PUP list or whatever it is that they have to put him on, it's fine. They should do whatever it takes to make sure he's 100% healthy going into the season or going into wherever. I mean, again, great if he starts week 1, but if he's not ready, I wouldn't push him and wouldn't rush him, because you could set him back and then you don't have him for 8, 10, 12 games maybe, and then it's a waste. So again, encouraged that he's out there, but I want them to be smart with him and not screw it up. So listen, the wide receivers are going to be better just by having him. Kendrick Bourne's good. Hollis would be like the red zone threat guy at 6'4". And Kyle Williams, if he can do anything in the slot, and you have him and Douglas, when you have a wide receiver, 4 wide receivers out there, look, that's they finally have some guys with speed. And I can't even talk about the 2 receivers they drafted last year, Jalen Polk and drawing a blank. But like those guys, hopefully they, one of them can crack it, and they should have an easier time getting open this year under this new coaching staff. So they're going to need all hands on deck with these guys. So listen, you got another We got another week and a half of this training camp stuff. I think their first exhibition game is like August 8th or 9th or something, whatever. So we'll have to see how it goes. They're gonna and already the sports radio guys had to start with the Will Campbell short arm nonsense, right? Because they have the reporters down there at the training camp, and then they have them on, and they have to be like, oh, well, how do his arms look? And they're like, short. And then they start howling, and they're like, oh, see, I told you. Like, guys, shut up. Stop with that. Like, it's unnecessary. You're going to keep doing this all year long? Every time he gets beat, oh, his arms are too short. Just stop. Give the kid a shot. If at some point it looks like he's can't handle it or he's getting manhandled and they have to put somebody else over there, they will. Let's see, Gordy. He's no Randy Moss. I assume you're referring to Diggs. No, he's not Randy Moss. Randy Moss had more left in the tank than what he was showing when he was with the Raiders because he was a malcontent. He wasn't a happy camper. I think Stephon Diggs. I don't know if he was a malcontent in Houston. He just got hurt. I mean, he was getting the ball, and so he has a history of burning bridges with the QB and not being happy with the offense. He forced his way out of Minnesota, and as a Vikings fan, you should know that. And probably not happy about it that he left and went to Buffalo and did the same thing there and got mad. He wasn't getting the ball. And even Randy Moss had that one good year, and then the next year, again, they were trying to spread the ball around a lot, and he wasn't getting the ball. And so that's the way it is. The diva receivers, which is why I hate them. They're necessary, but I hate them, is because they always want the ball. And as we saw with the Patriots, they tried to force feed it to Moss, and every time they did that, their offense sputtered because that's not the way their offense is designed. Their offense is designed to hit the open guy. And for X amount of years, 20 years, if Tom Brady was here, he would just hit the open guy. And every time they went one-dimensional and tried to hit one guy, whether it was Gronk or Moss or whoever, their offense is going to stall. The teams are going to double team. They're going to adjust. They're going to figure it out. And you have to spread the ball around. You have no choice. And these diva wide receivers, they want their 100 catches and whatever, and their millions of dollars. I get it. But I would hope now for somebody like Diggs, who's in his early 30s, that the winning becomes more important than getting the ball. And, the diva crap and, pumping up the stats. Again, they all do it. All the wide receivers do it. I mean, I look at, I think his name is Jennings down in San Francisco, right? They traded, who did they trade? I forget who they traded. Deebo Samuel, maybe one of the receivers they traded, right? So now he's like the top guy or the next guy in line. Now he wants a new contract because he caught a bunch of balls last year. No guarantee he's going to catch a bunch of balls this year, right? So, there's a guy that, has some success to be like, okay, now I want to get paid. Now you don't get paid, you're going to hold out. McLaurin in Washington, he's got a real legitimate beef. He's got 5 or 6 straight 1,000-yard seasons, and with bums for quarterbacks up until last year with Jaden Daniels. I mean, he hasn't had nothing to work with and still getting 1,000 yards. So I totally understand where he's coming from. But again, he's 29, I think. So you're talking about giving him an extension, and what does he want? $30 million a year for 5-6 years. That's a lot. So, could the Patriots be in on him? I don't think they are, but they should be. They should be calling. I mean, they should be turning. They're rebuilding. They have cap space. They should be turning over all the rocks and saying, "Hey, look, what's under this rock? Let's look at this. What's it going to take to get him here?" But just the Wide receivers drive me nuts. The whole diva thing just I can't. I can't. All right. Watching the time. Let's move on from them. Let's move on to the Red Sox. Let's move on to the Red Sox and their dismal road trip. They had the All-Star break, and they came out of it, and as predicted, pretty much, they had a tough time with the Cubs, and they had a tough time with the Phillies, and they lost 2 out of 3 to both those teams. And they were lucky to win last night's game and escape. And I'll get to that in a bit. But you got Lucas Giolito right out of the gate. So he had a stretch where he pitched like 5 or 6 games, and his ERA was like under 1, and I think he was 5-1 or whatever. And right back to reality. First game against the Cubs, gives up a 3-run homer in the first inning, right out of the chute. I think he pitched 5 innings in that game, gave up 4 runs. They couldn't win, lost the game, done. Next game, Brian Bayo pitched. I think he pitched 6 innings and gave up 3 runs, but again, not clean enough for them, and they ended up losing, I think, 4-1. Right. And again, and I'm going to get to more of this in a minute, but no hits, tons of strikeouts again, more stupid plays on the base paths and so forth, more errors. I mean, they're back to being at the top of the league in errors. And if it wasn't for Garrett Crochet Sunday, pitching 6 innings and getting the W and keeping them in the game, I want to say they were behind 1-0 through 5, and then the Red Sox scored 2 runs in the top of the 6th, and then he shut them down in the 6th inning, and that helped them get the win. But I mean, this is why you need an ace. This is why you need pitching. And then going into the series against Philly, again, you got Giolito gives up 4 homers in 4 innings yesterday. I don't even want to talk about that just yet. The first 2 games, let me get to game number 1. They faced their ace Zach Wheeler. Through 6 innings, gave up 2 runs, struck out 10. And of course, the Red Sox had to go and lose in the 10th inning in bizarre fashion, where pitch was being thrown, and Narvaez, the catcher, had his glove sticking out just a little too far, and the batter's bat nicked his glove, and they called catcher's interference, and the bases were loaded and a run scored and cost the Red Sox the game. So they ended up losing 3-2, even though they kind of sort of stayed in it and held their own against. I don't even want to say they held their own against the Wheeler. They did get 2 runs off them though. So I mean, the strikeouts are alarming. So they lose that game. Then the next game, Tuesday, they faced their second best pitcher, Christopher Sanchez, who's 8-2. Dude throws a complete game, strikes out 12, and they win 4-1. And watching those 2 guys pitch, and again, it's a grain of salt. Don't run away with this, but it kind of was like when the Red Sox had Pedro and Schilling back to back. You got 2 guys. This team has 2 guys at the top of the rotation, and they were really good. I mean, Sanchez was unbelievable. Just the Sox had no chance. I think they only got 4 hits off them. And this is what the Red Sox really need. They need another number 2 guy. Also in that game, Bryce Harper was coming home. He was trying to steal home, I think. And Narvaez went to catch the ball, but what he did is he stepped in front of the plate, and when he did, I think he touched the plate or whatever, to try to catch the ball, and he got called for interference. And so, I don't ever remember seeing this when I was young, and it's only because they changed the rules around. If you remember the Red Sox back in the '70s or whatever, and you saw Carlton Fisk for the Red Sox, and you saw Thurman Munson for the Yankees, those guys were always in front of the plate. They were allowed to block the plate. The runners could run them over. That's gone now. So the catchers are not allowed to block the plate. I don't know how the hell they're supposed to tag them and get them out. But apparently you're not allowed to be in front of the plate. And so I actually have the rule here. It's Rule 6.01 that stipulates if a catcher or any other player steps on or in front of home base during a squeeze play or attempted steal, it's an automatic interference and the pitcher is charged with a balk. And so, maybe this is part of the reason that Navarez was in the minors or whatever, is because of the defensive aspect. I mean, he's got a gun for an arm, and he's hitting really well. So you can't take him out of the lineup. And my hope is that, you have Veritek on the bench as one of the bench coaches or whatever the hell his, the game planning instructor or whatever, and work with this guy and try to correct some of that, because I think he's had 5 or 6 this year, maybe even more, interference calls, and I think he leads the league. So it's something that, needs to get cleaned up before it costs them more games in the next, month and a half, 2 months, 2.5 months, because they're already, I think, in a spot where they just can't afford to lose games. I mean, for them to think, they're going to reel off another 10 in a row. Good luck with that. I don't see it yet, because they're not built for that. They're still making too many stupid mistakes. Yesterday, freaking Trevor Story. Dude, you're a 10-year veteran. Ball gets hit towards third base. Freaking breaks for third while he's on second base. They throw over there. They pick him off. He gets caught in a rundown. Like, dude, why are you running over there? There's nobody on first. You stay where you are, dum-dum. Unless there's 2 outs. I mean, what? These are really stupid plays that they're doing still. I don't get it. That's a guy that should never do something like that. I mean, that's just mindless, these guys. And I don't know what the issue is, why their head isn't in the game, or what the hell's going on. But it's got to get corralled. They got to do something with this. It's one thing when, Saddam Rafaelic does it multiple times. Again, bench him. No consequences. That's how it should work. Trevor Story, dude, what are you doing? You're not supposed to be doing that. I think Duran made a base running blunder too, somewhere along the line. I mean, these guys should know better. But talking about last night's game, I'm watching the game, and Jesus Luzardo, through the first 4 innings, was throwing a no-hitter. And Giolito had given up 4 home runs in 4 innings, and they were down 5-0. And this guy was mowing the Red Sox down left and right. All of a sudden, he got himself in trouble in the 6th, and Romy Gonzalez, I mean, I thought they were dead. I mean, 5-0. They pan up to the box there, and they show Dave Dombrowski, and I'm thinking to myself, this guy's got to have the cat ate the canary grin on his face. Like, see, you dum-dums, you fired me. Look what I got going on here. That's what I was thinking in my head. And then all of a sudden, Romy Gonzalez hit the grand slam and put the Red Sox ahead 6-5. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you freaking kidding me? This guy was throwing a no-hitter, and he just unraveled. He couldn't find the plate. He was walking guys. I mean, he was giving up hits left and right. He just lost it. It's like he just turned into a pumpkin. And then, so again, later on, the Red Sox took the lead. I want to say they took the lead 6-5. Then they took the lead 7-6, and the bullpen came in and blew it. I think it was Aroldis Chapman came in and blew it. I think he gave up a home run, but I have to double check that. It would be his first one this year, right? But that's a guy that, they made him go out for, he pitched one inning and then they made him go out for another inning, and he's not built that way. So he's a guy that just pitches one inning. That's it. He's not the Garrett Whitlock multiple inning guy. But excuse me, I get why they would want to use him if you got, their best hitters are coming up when you want to get them guys out. I get why they would do that. But then later, so then later on, they're at the Phillies tied up at 7-7, and then Navarez gets up, hits a 2-run homer in the top of the 11th, and the bullpen comes in, shuts the door, and they get the win 9-8. And I posted on our page, and Frank chimed in and said, "Hey, it's their best win of the year," and I have to agree with him. For you to be down 6-0 like that and come back, and look, when they're in Fenway Park a lot, they can be down. You can be down 5-0. You can be down 10-0, and still come back in Fenway Park just because of the way that ballpark is. And I actually remember, in the late '80s, I want to say somebody for the Red Sox was pitching, and through like 6 or 7 innings, he was mowing them down. They were winning 10-0. And he had to come out because I think he had a blister or something on his hand. His finger came out, and the Red Sox ended up losing the game 11-10. So it can happen. But for it to happen in reverse fashion for them, they're the ones that usually get the 5-0 lead and lose it. For them to actually pull it off, and I believe it's their first road win in extra innings this year. I'd have to double check that. But, to come out of there, because I thought I was going to come on here and be like, oh, they're 1-5, they're done. Stick a fork in them. But they showed some resiliency and they showed some grit, and they showed that they're not going to quit, which is encouraging. I don't know how they fix the mishaps that they keep making. It's really tiresome. It's getting old. I don't know what the fix is, but it's frustrating. I'll just say that, and everybody's going to be frustrated. I do want to touch on one more thing I heard today that has me pissed off. Is Jeff Passan, who's I think he's part of ESPN. Basically came out and had some stuff on the Red Sox. If I can find it here for a second. Give me 1 second, because it sounds like the Red Sox are not going to be buyers like we thought they were. Let's see. I got it here. At this moment, the Red Sox are not inclined to engage in any large-scale deadline moves. Chief Baseball Officer Craig Breslow has said the team wants to add after trading Devers. While it would be no surprise if it did, Boston is an organization that deeply values operating efficiently, and a market like this is the epitome of inefficient. Okay. I've been listening to these jerks, him and freaking Sam Kennedy, tell us how they're going to be aggressive, they're going to spend. I'll go back to Sam Kennedy back in freaking February in spring training telling us that the goal is to get 92 to 95 wins, and they're going to spend, and they're going to do this and that. Stop blowing smoke up our rear ends. Stop gaslighting us. If you're not going to do anything, shut the hell up. Just can it. I don't want to hear anymore. Just say the deadline's coming. I don't know what we're going to do. Don't say anything. Don't go on messing with Tom Cameron in the pregame show on Friday and be like, oh yeah, we're going to be this, and then have Breslow come on sports radio, whatever channel he's on, EEI or whatever, and talk to those guys and tell them, well, yeah, maybe. Listen, both of you just shut the hell up. I'm done hearing it. This tells me, and I heard something too on the way home that goes back to them using the stupid computer to tell them to put Christian Campbell at second base. They're still using the effing computer that's telling them that they have to model themselves after the Milwaukee Brewers. And Don't trade prospects away, and don't go after. You know what they need? They need a number 2 starter. The guys we have are like Flotsam and Jetsam fill-in guys. You're not getting Carlos Sanchez or whatever his name is there I described earlier from Philly. That's what you need. You need another one of them. And you're not going to do that now? What are you going to do? Nothing, as usual? And then sell us a bill of crap? And then wonder why in the second half in August, the team craps out and is under 500 down the stretch. And if this happens again, this will be like the 4th or 5th year in a row that they will have crapped out in August and been under 500 and didn't make the playoffs because they didn't actually add real talent at the deadline. Don't get me James Paxton Jr. that's 35 years old. Rich Hill is back pitching at 45 for Kansas City, I think. No. That's a hard no. No. Get real guys. You know, get the kid from get Joe Ryan from freaking Minnesota. Get me these other guys I've been hearing from, the Padres or Pittsburgh or wherever. You got to stop. You got to stop because we can't take you seriously. I can't take the Red Sox seriously. Are they better on paper than last year? Yes, they have Crochet and they have Bregman. But the rest of the spots are still a problem. We don't have a number 2 starter. Lucas Giolito at $19 million is not your number 2 guy when he's giving up 3-run homer and 4 home runs and this and that. He's reverting back to what he was. He had a nice little stretch, but he's not the answer. Brian Bayo was the opening day starter last year. Shouldn't have been. He's like 4th or 5th tops. He doesn't belong at the top of the rotation. And you got Richard Fitz, who's like the 5th fill-in guy. Like, you got to get another guy and drop these guys back to where they belong and put them in the right spots and stop screwing around. I'm so sick of this. I'm disgusted that this really. Wait till next week. Wait till next week at the deadline. If you think I'm negative now, forget it. Next week when they do nothing, it's going to be worse. I just don't even bother playing. Just quit and finish in last place then if you're going to do this. And Alex Cora, if I was you, I would just resign, quit, or whatever. And if I was him, and they don't do anything this year at the deadline, if I was him, I would be done with this. I would just be done. I wouldn't be able to do it. You can't keep doing the same thing over and over again and expect a different result. The definition of insanity. That's what these guys have been doing since 2018, since they won the World Series. Something's got to change, and it's got to start with the clowns at the top, and stop feeding us BS because I've had enough. All right, I got to watch the clock. Who did I miss? Did I miss anybody? Oh, the Bruins. All right, so there's only one really little thing about the Bruins. We don't have to spend a lot of time on it, but there is another rumor going around that I read, and I want to say this is out of St. Louis. The writers out there are saying that Jordan Kyrou is willing to waive his no trade clause to come to the Bruins. He signed a deal in 2022 for 8 years and $65 million, so he makes $8.125 million a year. Last year in 82 games, he had 36 goals and 34 assists for 70 points, and he's a center. And there's the writer says that because the Bruins only have around $3 million in cap space, they would have to move somebody off the active roster. And he mentioned Casey Middlestat, Pavel Zacha, Matt Poitras, and Mason Lohrei as candidates to be moved in order to get him. If it was me, I would move Middlestat in a second because he makes the most. He's making 5.75. And if they wanted Poitras, I would put him in the deal. I would not put Lohrei. I would put Zacha if they wanted him too. You clear out $9 million in space, that's fine. I don't have a problem with that. But I would include Matt Poitras because if they're going to build the team the way they built it, he doesn't have a future here. The way the roster's built right now, he's going to get stuck on the third line playing with 2 stiffs, and that's a waste of his talent. So you get this Kyrou guy in here. He's your number 2 center, replacing Middlestat. And then, if you moved Poitras, who's slated to play right wing, that would open the door for Alex Steves and Matej Blumel, who they signed to as free agents to fight for that spot, and give those guys a chance. Those guys are legit 30-goal scorers in the AHL. I would legit give those guys a shot somehow. So I would not be opposed to doing something like that if that's what they wanted to do. And you get a legit center. And again, everybody, I know some members of our group, Tim Anderson in particular, is not happy with Elias Lindholm, but maybe you would move Cairo up top with Geeky and Pasternak, and then you would slide Lindholm back, and he would play with Zaka and Arvidsson. So just a little thing to keep in mind. I would be happy if they did something like that, depending upon who they get rid of. I don't want them to get rid of Lohrei because he's a puck-moving defenseman. He's young. He's talented. He just needs to get better on the defensive end. But they need a guy like him that provides some offense. So where they signed him to a 2-year contract, and he's young. He's only 24, 25 years old. I don't want to move him. So that's it for the Bruins. I apologize for this. All right, so we're done with the Bruins. We're going to move on to poll questions. Poll questions we had. Excuse me for 1 second here. Poll questions we had. Let's see. We had, what do the Red Sox need most to improve the team to make the playoffs? Number 1 starter was 100%. Solid relief pitcher, 0. Another bat/first baseman, 0. Everybody agrees they need a number 2 starter. I don't know why they don't see that. But again, we're going to find out next week at the deadline. And then I'm probably going to have to rip them a new one. So we'll see. Where's the poll questions? I'm sorry, right here. Okay. Next poll question. With the Patriots starting training camp this week, what are you most excited about? Drake May, development leadership, 66%. Wide receiver group, 33%. Defense/front 7, 0. Looks like a majority of the people are interested in Drake May's development and leadership. This is big for him, especially, another new offense, right? And so he has to get the camaraderie and the trust with the receivers and line and so on and so forth, and pick up this Josh McDaniels offense. So he's got a good head on his shoulders. He says all the right things. It's just a matter of whether he can execute. And so I'm encouraged by what I've seen and heard from him so far. And the last poll question we had is, do you think the Celtics should sign free agent Ben Simmons? We had 33% yes and 67% no. I'm definitely in no. I don't want no part of him. They don't need him. Okay. Now we're going to go to the predictions. Last week's predictions. I had Red Sox lose 4 out of 6. Ding, ding, ding. Finally, Negative Ned gets one right. I know it's an easy one, but the Red Sox actually saved my bacon by pulling out that win last night in extra innings. Otherwise, I would have had that wrong too. I said that they were going to trade for a first baseman and or starting pitcher Joe Ryan because I wanted them to pull the plug early. Wrong again. Back to reality for Negative Ned. And I also said that someone on the Red Sox is headed to the DL. We got word that Tanner Houck had a setback in his rehab, and he's out indefinitely. They did not move him to the DL or whatever. So I'm going to give myself half credit for that because I've already said for a number of weeks that he was going to wind up out for the year. They say he doesn't need surgery and he just needs rest, but it's still that same elbow, nerve, I don't know, issue, whatever it is he's still dealing with. And anytime there's an elbow with pitches, I just say, just get to Tommy John and get it over with at this point. I don't know why they keep dragging their feet with him, but he wasn't getting results down there either. I think his ERA was still over 8. I mean, he's just not pitching good. So that's last week's predictions. I do have some ready for this week. Frank, if you're listening, surprise, surprise. I have them here. Hold on one second while I find them. All right, here we go. I'm going to keep prediction number 1 and say that they're also going to lose 4 of the next 6 because they have the Dodgers coming in for 3 games starting Friday. They're going to lose 2 out of those 3 easy, I think, even though the Dodgers aren't playing great. And they have to go to Minnesota on the road for the next 3. I think Minnesota could take 2 out of 3 from them because Minnesota took 2 out of 3 here back in May at Fenway. And they always give the Red Sox problems. So it's not going to be easy for them. So I'm keeping that prediction for another week. I forgot to change the last one. All right. The next one I have is the Red Sox. The Red Sox at the trade deadline are going to trade for some cheap middle relief guy. It's going to be another Ocean State job lot bum. It's going to be probably somebody we don't know that's just probably either having a good year or he's some 35-year-old guy on the last year of his contract. So he's going to be a free agent at the end of the year or some stupid nonsense. I after reading what I read earlier, I don't see them making anything big splash, nothing. So I don't know. I just don't see it. So brace yourself for the tirade next week at the trade deadline with the Red Sox. And I do want to do a Patriots. I do want to do a Patriots prediction, and I'm gonna say that Efton Chisholm starts to emerge in the wide receiver group. I know that in the mini camps he emerged as a guy, and they've been talking about him being like the next Edelman, a guy that came in as a late round pick or a free agent and, made the team as a punt returner and so forth. I see this guy as kind of being like that. I mean, from what I've heard, this guy has the fastest feet as far as like the cuts and, being able to get open in a short window and stuff like that. He sounds like Edelman. He sounds like, Wes Welker. He sounds like one of those kind of guys. So I'm going to say that he starts to emerge over the next week, and we'll see what happens. We'll see. We'll see what we got. All right. As usual, I overran. I didn't intend to because I didn't think I had as much to talk about as I did. But of course, being Italian, I'm long-winded. So just want to say thank you all for watching. Thank you for all the support. Thanks for the commentary. Thanks for voting in the polls. Be sure to catch us on our YouTube channel. Please like, share, and subscribe. And we'll see you guys all here next week. Next week, I am going to schedule the show for Thursday. We're going to schedule for Thursday next week because the trade deadline is Thursday and the deadline is 4:00. So I definitely want to make sure we schedule the show for Thursday so that we can rip the Red Sox a new one if they don't do anything. So make sure you tune in next week, next Thursday at 8:00. All right. Thanks, everybody.